Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Confession. Story 1. I broke someone's collarbone and never got caught for it. When I was in 7th grade, my sister P and I was hanging out on the climber board, and my now ex-friend S and 2 other people B and A came over and asked us if we wanted to play Truth or Dare. As we were bored, we said yes, so we all had a seat on the climber and started playing. TBH, it started off boring until S was dare you go up to this boy and slap him, and she said sure to do it. Then it was my turn and I said dare. My dare was to go up to my crush that I liked him. I said sure, so with only like 10 minutes left, we went to go do it anyway. S does her dare, but I was starting to guess myself, so I said I didn't want to do it anymore. When S said I couldn't turn it down, now I got mad at her and P and I started walking away, but S started to run over to him. Me not thinking, I ran over to her and push her. She started cry and a teacher came over and got a bought her inside. Found out later she broke her collarbone. Never go in trouble for it. Story 2. How should I apologize when I stole from a dollar store? I stole $4 cards and a bunch of candy from a local dollar store over a period of a few weeks. The manager saw me and banned me. Stole around a $120 worth of stuff. I'm feeling bad about it. I'm planning to give back the money and the items that I have left. How do I apologize to the manager so I can be let in again? Story 3. In grade 5, I destroyed my then best friend's Playmobil Western set. So in my second year of grade 2, I repeated, I made a best friend. Me and this friend were a trio with one other person. Won't focus on them for this confession, he repeated with me. It was much worse, and we would spend a lot of time at each other's houses. This is where it all happened. We were hanging out at his place, and we were role-playing with the set, and out of nowhere, in the middle of us doing this, I just rip apart / dismantled the buildings. He was screaming, my name, what are you doing? Stop, my name, and his parents were out of the house at the time, so we just sat in silence. But 5 minutes later they come back to his place and his dad walks in and asks what happened, and we just said we fell. I lead the conversation, and I never ended up getting in trouble. Story 4. I intentionally caused a fender bender with the car behind me. I usually pause a little at green lights to try to create the scenario that unfolds in the rest of this post. As I started to drive, the car behind me honked. I was taking too long. Knowing that I'd have the excuse that I thought the horn was coming from cross traffic, I slammed on my brakes as hard as I could and the car behind me busted up my tail bumper. Afterwards, the entire time they were berating me about suing me for brake checking them, I was just sitting there silently. I did not tell them anything about my dashcam and didn't do anything that would admit an ounce of guilt. Ultimately, they had to replace their broken headlight, my tail bumper, and my medical bills for examining a possible concussion. I probably won't do this again because it just isn't as exciting or satisfying in hindsight. Story 5. When I was training as a server, I stole my trainer's tip money off the tables. I feel so bad looking back at this. My trainer was being an asshole towards me, and so I got mad and stole the tips off the table that was supposed to go to her. I know her acting like an a-hole wasn't a good reason for me to do that, but 2 years ago it seemed like an okay thing to do since I was mad. What's your opinion? Story 6. Stole money from my friends without them knowing returning in school. I, 19M, in my high school was not a very smart student, and with having Asian parents, they would always control my financial spending. Not saying that they would never give me money whenever I asked. Luckily I am from a well-to-do family, but sometimes asking my parents for money would be a little awkward. Sometimes I would have an urge to just buy a McDonald's meal or boba. I mean, who wouldn't, right? They are just so good. So every time I would have this urge, I would look through my friend's wallet and find a couple of dollars, as they would carelessly leave their wallet out in the open, and every time they would ask where their money went, I would always say it or act confused. I was always guilty when I did this, but my cravings would always overcome this feeling. LMAO. This went on for a couple of weeks, and now, it's been 5 years since this happened, and am still unable to forget this phase in my life. Hopefully after this I am able to forget this and finally move on. Update: I have since stopped doing this as I have matured way more than before. Story 7. I once stole someone's place in line in a DMV and got in and out in 5 minutes. I needed new tags for my car and I've never gone to the DMV by myself before. I assumed I could get a ticket at a kiosk or something, but there were none. I went to the tellers to ask them how I would get a ticket to queue in line and walked up to a worker who was closest to me. Simultaneously she had called a ticket number and as I was standing in front of her she assumed I was next. She asked me what I needed help with, so I told her and she did my tags in only 5 minutes and I was out. I didn't actually realize what had happened until I turned around and the actual person who was next was standing right behind me. I felt bad, but it was also really freaking cool that I just discovered this new hack. Glad at least that I could be the first person to say they had a delightful DMV experience. Story 8. I told my mom I was pregnant so she won't kick me out. I, 19F, and mom 43 is living together and she told me it's time I moved out and I don't have a steady job to move out, so I told her I was pregnant. Now this idea came from a friend who I've known since I was little, but anyway I told my mom I was pregnant and she said she would help me until I get on my feet. She asked who was the baby dad and I lied and said it was my boyfriend even though it wasn't because I'm not pregnant, and then she asked to meet him but I haven't told her I was lying. What should I do? Okay, I see where all of you are coming from and y'all are right. Actually I've never considered living with my boyfriend. I have family that might be willing to take me in, but they live too far away from my college to even consider that. Story 9. I've done my best but it still wasn't good enough. I worked so hard to make up for my past and no one noticed. I'm so alone, I can't tolerate it anymore. All I want is to die and end this pain. 3 years is so long. I feel so abused and can't make them just stop. I don't deserve what they are doing to me. I just want it over. I hope to be dead soon. Story 10. I've, 30M, spent $250,000 to $350,000 on drugs and gambling. I used to make a lot of money in my early 20s as a manager of a body shop, grossing $4 to $10 million a year in profit. My boss was a opioid addict and got me into them from long hours and pain. Next thing you know, it's a year later and I'm hooked. The next 4 years was us snorting Roxys and dope a day at about $250 500/day. That's not including any gambling or other drugs we used like coke, molly, weed, psychs, etc. I would bring home $2 to $4 grand a week depending on commissions, and then spend half of it at the casino and the other half up my nose. It ended with me overdosing. I flatlined twice, had 52 minutes of chest compressions performed to keep me alive while they Narcaned me 3 times up my nose and then threw my intubation tube at the hospital. I spent a week in a coma, 2 more in the ICU, 1 more in recovery, and then a month after that learning to walk again. They even flew a roto-prone bed in for me alone to get brain activity going the first 24 hours. The real confession is what else we did during those 4 or 5 years. We paid off a half dozen adjusters to inflate claims/supplements. I mean thousands of dollars each time. A total of $500,000 I know of was scammed money. We would take a hail car that had medium damage and use tools to create more dents for more money and fix them before the customer saw and somehow never got caught. I've been clean 5 years and started a family. I'm doing wonderful. My boss just died last week of an overdose. I haven't seen or spoke to him since I quit when I decided to get sober after my overdose, but hearing about his death brought a lot up. Honestly, it got much darker and illegal than that, but I'm weary of posting those details online ever. Edit. After 12 hours, this post has garnered more traffic than I expected by a long shot. I wrote this BC my boss died and I found out through the grapevine. I haven't worked or spoke to him in 5 years, but it still brings a lot up. The last 5 years, my life has been 110% different. I work now in the low voltage industry. I don't make a fraction of the money I used to, but I have the greatest family in the world, I'm sober, and much happier. 90% of the Story 11. I stole from work. Been kinda short on money the past few months since I was out of work with a work-related injury. Got behind all my bills. So I've been scrambling week to week regarding food. So yesterday and today I stole food out of the self-serve vending area, and I plan on doing it again. Sorry not sorry. Edit for today 12/11. Thanks everyone. I know some of you don't understand because you have never been in this position and I'm not going to hold that against you. I've been in talks the past few weeks about another job. It's about the same base pay, but includes monthly bonuses. I start in 2 weeks. Also, wife just got a new job so that will help. Also found out that current employer is giving out an end-of-year bonus. All of this will help to get us back in line. To those who have offered help, thank you. But I think I'm going to be okay, so I pass on this help so that someone less fortunate can be blessed. Story 12. I FCKED up and I'm severely suffering with the consequences. I'm a 21M and as the title says I really fucked up. But for those of you reading this please take it to heart and never do what I did. Let me start off by saying I had a girlfriend for 5 years and they were the best 5 years of my life. There were a lot of struggles with my family and hers. But guys, this was the love of my life. We were through so much stuff. Stuff nobody should be put through. But we did everything together and stuck through everything. But that stuff doesn't come with no consequences. I started feeling apathetic, I hated everything, I developed severely demented and sadistic thoughts on those who had wronged us. But I acted like it was natural. I completely lost feelings, and growing up I was hardwired into thinking that men suffer in silence and that's what I did. I didn't even realize I pushed my girlfriend at the time away. I was numb and emotionless. And after about half a year of feeling this way, we both decided to break up. And I realized that those thoughts and everything I had on my shoulders was due to her family, not her. Her dad was a recovering alcoholic and he was doing good until his dog-meat-looking girlfriend decided she wanted more attention and realized she could only get that if he's drunk. Her dad abused her little sister and little brother on separate occasions and I was there beside her every step of the way. Her dad disowned her and attempted to manipulate her but neither of us let that happen. I almost went to jail because of these instances. This girl saved me from my home life as well. My dad is an alcoholic as well but not on the same level as hers. My mom's manipulative, and nothing I ever did was good enough regardless of how good I did it. There are so many more things, but those were by far the worst. Guys, when you find love, don't let anything break it. It's hard. It's gonna drag you in the mud and rip you apart. Do not suffer in silence as I did. Talk to your significant other. Express yourself. Or else you'll lose everything you care about like I have. I realized I loved her too late, and I honestly don't know what to do with my life anymore. I miss her so much but she's gone for good. Please guys/girls. Take this to heart so you don't suffer how I am. I'm sorry for the bad writing, this is my first post but I needed to get this off my chest. Thank you for reading. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.